Right, so in this video, guys, just want to cover the basic fundamentals of a breadboard. Right, and breadboard is an excellent tool for prototype design work and testing out a couple of circuits before being put into maybe a printed circuit board design, for official use or completed use. So breadboard, we're going to be using them a lot in our setup for these different tasks. We're going to be designing their things on this and playing around them, so we need to know how to work. Very simple, but a couple of things you can get caught out with. So some of this knowledge may be pretty basic for some people, but just always good to re-understand the basics and keep them in your head, because that way you can be really smart with your layout. The more clear you can keep this breadboard and the more neat it can be, it really does help with fault finding, because although they're great breadboards, it can be hard to see the holes, whether they line up. It can get very crowded very easily, so if you can be a little bit smart about it, you'll do great, okay? And it'll be important to know. So, right, breadboard. This is what it looks like. They can be longer or smaller, and most of them are pretty much the same, but there's some subtle differences between one or two, okay? You see you've got some references labels, so letters here that represent these slots, these rows as we look at them. And then we have, if we look at it, the columns here, you'll see they're numbered, okay? So that can be useful for us to count pin numbers and things like that. So always good to orientate it the right way around. Now, fundamentally, what we have here is if you connect something into this point here, it will all be connected along there. Okay, so any other component you join in here will automatically be joined into the component here. So on these, what we call power rails, on the outer banks, they are all connected along the row. Okay, so along that row. And this one is all connected along this row. Okay, but this is not connected to this in terms of the column as we look at it. Okay, so to kind of put a line on it, that's all connected, right? But it's not connected. If I just delete that, it's not internally connected that way, okay? So anything that goes in here is isolated to this. So what we commonly do is, you'll see we'll put our two power rails in there, we'll put ground, and we'll put maybe 24 volts or 5 volts, or, well, not 24 volts, maybe 5 volts or 3 volts or something like that, okay? Likewise, we can do it from the other side. Now, these two up here aren't connected to these two, right? They're isolated, but again, they're still connected in the same way that this is all connected along the row, and the same with this one is all connected along the row, but they are not connected together. They are isolated along the column side here as we look at it, okay? Now, and that's what these rails up here are commonly used for, sort of power rails or ground rails. Now, inside in the main board here, the way these are connected is the other way around. These are connected along the column. So if you put something in here, it is joined to here, 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 and here. So these are isolated going across the way. So this row is isolated to this row. Okay. Also, this bridge isolates this side from this side. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. These are all connected along the way. It's isolated. These two are isolated. All of these are isolated as the column goes, but they are joined along the column. All isolated along the bridge, disconnected along the bridge. So pulled a couple of diagrams off the internet just to try and explain that. Hopefully this makes maybe a wee bit more sense. You can see all of these are connected along this way, all connected along the top, but the blue and the red are isolated. You can see here all the black, they're connected along the column, but isolated from one row to another. And they're not connected along the center there. The same for the other side. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Again, just re-emphasize another wee image here. Holes between columns, so along that bridge that we call it, are not connected. So keep that in mind. That sometimes catches people out. Holes along the rows here are not connected, so these aren't connected. These holes are connected along the way down here, and these are connected down there, but the red and the blue aren't connected. And then we can see these are all connected up here, all connected down there. Okay. Just a couple of things to watch out for. Sometimes in the larger breadboards, there's a bridge along here, so this isn't connected to here. So that's something just to watch out for. In some of the bigger boards, you'll see on some of the smaller boards, yeah, they're connected the whole way along, but in some of the bigger ones, there's a disconnect there, there's a bridge there, just like there's a bridge along the center. So keep that in mind. So again, just commonly things that we'll be setting up. The big thing is your embed. So let me just pop that in, how you want your embed to get inserted. I believe it's this one here. Yeah, that's our embed. What you'll always do, you'll try and orientate it the right way around. Okay. And it will sit along the center, have it, as we said, reading the right way. So it's pin 1 down to pin, you'll see there. Oh, I'm actually out. See, look at that. I had it out of, whoops, making a mess it is. Sorry, let me just delete that and pop it back in. Lovely. So yeah, sorry there, that was just, I was looking a wee bit out of line, but there it is. So right at the top, you'll see there's pin 1 lining up with pin 1. All the way down here, there's pin 10 lining up with pin 10. So it just makes it a little bit easier to identify some of the pin numbers. So that's the way your embed will sit on the breadboard. And if you then want to join in on some of these pins, you have one hole either side to get access to it. You'll see commonly what we'll do is here, we'll take, there's voltage out from the breadboard, we'll bring that across here. We'll usually use a red wire for it, and then you'll see now we have power all along here. So I can just, any component I connect here, I can just connect along there for power. You'll see ground is the other side, so we'll keep it nicely color coordinated. Usually use black for ground. Now if I need to join any components to ground, I just have to join them in along here because they're all connected back. So anything I joined in here, it's all connected along the way down to there and into the ground supply. And ultimately, you know, when you connect the USB into your computer, that's what gives out the voltage out and the ground. Other common things just to keep in mind, if we use something like a dip switch or certain switches or components or chips, you'll see we'll put them sitting across the bridge. Okay, so they'll sit across the bridge, because if you put them along here, what you're actually doing is you're shortening the connection between the gap in the switch. Okay, so we'll have a look at some of the circuit diagrams to try and make sense of that, but any sort of chips that you use, you're going to place them along this bridge here, because the point is you need access to each one of those pins individually. If you put it here, this pin is now joined to this pin because everything along that column, or sorry, yeah, that column is joined. So by separating it across the bridge, you now have individual access into that. Okay, and just for some reason, just something random here, if we do that sort of a join, that means coming out of this switch is going to join into that leg there. Okay, I don't need to put it right here, you could if you want, but just if you wanted to space it out, keep it clear, because I'm joined in there, they are all connected, it gets to that pin. So there are just a couple of quick things on your breadboard, how you set it up. The more you build on it, the more you'll understand, and the more you can keep it sort of neat and nice and easy. But just keep in mind, that's the way the breadboard will sit. There's your kind of power rails, your ground rails, any sort of chips or maybe switches that sit onto the board, you will have them across the bridge.